If I said to you, what's your first impression or your first memory of Barry? In general, not when you first got on campus, but if someone walked by you and said, Barry College, what would instantly come to your mind?
Oh my goodness. It's probably that main entrance there with those royal palms. That was very impressive, you know. Somebody has I had come from Detroit where they had all these big beautiful trees, and then like in Miami with these royal palms. Somebody compared them to mop sticks, have you heard that before?
No.
Well, but anyway, I do think that the entrance to Barry College was beautiful. It was similar. Do you remember the entrance to the Hialeah racetrack? Did you ever go to the house? And it had the Royal Palm Boulevard, so I always
And all those
thought,
pink flamingos.
Oh yeah, oh gosh, yeah.
And what do you remember fondly about Barry? You were served in a number of capacities there. You were a dean and a teacher.
Well, I went there first just to be a history teacher. That was it. But it was just very nice. The sisters were all very welcoming. It was a warm spirit. We had recreation together in those days, in the evening, the sister for an hour. And we did a lot of things with community. We still had pretty much a community life there. We said our prayers together, and meals together. So those were happy times. But I guess when I really look back, we lived in the dormitories with the girls, We didn't have a convent for the sisters. So living in the dormitory with the girls, it took a little getting used to. But after a while, when I look back now, it was very nice. And you certainly formed wonderful friendships, relations with the girls.
But tell me, you had duties in the dormitory.
Oh, yes, indeed. We took, it was, I don't remember whether we called it study duty or it was a night duty at the desk in the hallway. And when the students would leave, they had to sign out when they left campus and sign in and all that. So we took those duties all right.
Did you have to stand at the door when the girls came back?
No,
to make sure nothing was...
I sat at a desk. I sat at a desk. That's what I remember in the dormitory that was called Stella Martin. Now they call it Weber, the big dormitory. But and sometimes the girls would hang around the sign-out place.
That changed in your time there too, didn't it?
Oh yes, very much. See, with the sisters, we took the duty at first. I had dormitory duty. But then we had house mothers eventually. We had some wonderful women who were in the dormitories. That was nice. But they don't do that anymore. Now they just have what they call RAs, the resident assistants, RAs. It's not like the house mothers. And of course it was all girls. When I was there, now there's the co-ed. So big change. I went there first in 1952. It's a small all-girls college, And now it's a university with 8,000 students altogether.
Yes, if you count the law school as well too. What were some of the changes though you've seen? Because you were there then again for a little bit in the 80s and and in the 90s.
Yes, when I came back, I was away during most of the decade of the 70s. But when I came back in 79, I noticed big changes, of course. The biggest one, of course, was that it was co-ed, and I don't think they had a dress code anymore. What the girls wore. We had some regulations about the clothing. They wouldn't come to class in shorts, in those days. But now, when I came back in 79. It seemed to me that the dress code was very relaxed. They could wear most anything, and of course styles had changed, and having the boys on campus was a big change, of course.
For the better, do you think?
I'm sure it was for better.
And then you were there as the assistant archivist as a volunteer.
Well,
So you came back on another.
That's right. I was away and came back the third time, but that was it. When I came back in '79, then I stayed '79 until coming up to Adrian after retiring completely. But when I went first in '79, I worked for a while in the library. Sister Franz was the librarian. She had called me and said, you want to come back to Miami? I'll come back to Barry. I said, I sure do. So she said, well, she had a place in the library. So I worked in the library for a while. It was nice. And then I worked in the registrar's office. Grace Schulmeyer was the registrar. Well, I think Sister Grace Schulmeyer was the registrar, and I was just an assistant to her. But that's when we were beginning to do transcripts on the computer, instead of. So that was quite a challenge, but it was good. But we were still relatively small. We were not a university yet. We were still just Barry College. Mm-hmm.
And as it evolved, you also saw the grounds expand. I'm sure that each time you came back, there were probably almost more buildings there.
Yes. When I first went there were just the five original buildings, and then they built Thompson Hall, and then they built the library, then the Dalton Dunspaul dormitories, and then the big expansion in buildings came when Sister Jean O'Loughlin became the president, and oh my, she several new dormitories, small.
Sister Jean, as I recall, was a formidable fundraiser.
Oh yes, she was. she was very much so. The college expanded, and then it became a university. See, and the professional schools grew too. When I first went to Barry in 1952, it was a small liberal arts college. We were not a professional school. The only profession we taught, I guess, was education. And so we did develop a school of education. But then the School of Social Work was established, I think, in 1965 was the beginning of the School of Social Work. And that was Sister Trinita or Sister Dorothy was the president, I don't remember.
The School of Social Work, so clearly an obvious fit for the Dominican mission, don't you think?
Oh, yes, it was. They did a lot of preparation before that, to study there's some research to see about the need for it, The bishop was involved. Bishop Coleman Carroll was involved. He wanted a Catholic school of social work. And Monsignor Brian Walsh, you remember? You remember him especially with the Cubans. But he had a big interest in the School of Social Work. In later years, Brian Walsh helped us get the records from the Cuban refugee children who came, what they call it the Pedro Pan, but at the time it was just the unaccompanied Cuban children.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it was because of Monsignor Brian Walsh that Barry has the records. Now they are the case record, the case files of those children who came over. But we are just the repository. The material belongs to the Archdiocese of Miami, but Barry Library is the repository for those records. So if there are any of the Pedro Pan people in Miami now, anywhere who want to see their records, they have to go through the chancery in Miami. We can't let them just at the archives. We can't just let anybody see those records. They are very private.
Yeah. I know that at various anniversaries of Pedro Pan,
Yes.
they go back and re-interview people
That's
who were
right.
children and now adults, and
That's right.
so yeah, I would think that that's also good publicity for Barry. I would
Oh
think.
yes, Sister Dorothy Yaley was the archivist, and she took great pride in those Pedro Pan records. And the woman who's the archivist now at Barry is very interested in. She is Hispanic, 'cause she's from Chile, but she could speak the Spanish, so she's interested in the. So it's we're glad we have those records, and we keep them under lock and key.
I mean, that's I would say, monumental historic value.
It is. It is. I think the University of Miami would like to have those records, but because Monsignor Walsh wanted Barry to have them, of course. So,
One of the sisters I talked to had said that she thought that South Florida was never really, and you will know this as a Georgian, was never really a southern state because of all of the great diversity, the large then Jewish population on Miami Beach, the influx of first Cuban immigrants and then Caribbean immigrants. Would you?
That's true. Miami surely is not. I mean, the South, but you go up to Tallahassee in North Florida, then you got that's like South Georgia.
You said you were happy to come back to Barry.
Yes.
Why?
I was always glad to be. Well, the sisters. It was always good to be with the sisters and the academic environment. I loved that academic environment.
It was interesting. One of the sisters said she hadn't gone to Catholic high school, so she didn't know what that was at first. The solidity.
Oh, this. Well, girl. When I first went to Barry back in the 50s, I suppose most of the students were Catholics, but I don't know that that's true today. I really don't know what the proportion is.
Well, what did you think of the changes at the time, and how did the university accept the fact that there was integration, the fact that men were there, the fact that women wear T-shirts and shorts and flip-flops?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what do you think of all the changes? Is it?
What comes to my mind first of all was the very first full-time black student that we had. It was in the early 60s. As this priest came to me from one of the parishes, or the black parish in Miami, and said he had a student we would have to take, that she'll need a full scholarship, but she'll be a credit to you. And she was just, and up until that time, we did not have any undergraduate full-time students. But this girl came, Cassandra Gray, and gave her a full scholarship. And she was she majored in math. She went for 4 years, did very well. She did not board on campus. She did not live on campus. See? We did not have any blacks living on campus at that time. That was in the 60s. But
Did she not live on campus because she was black?
Probably. Well, her home was she was a Miami girl, see, and so she didn't need to live on campus, But she was accepted beautifully, and she just fit in. I'm sure a lot of things were hard for her, but she made good friends. Sister Paul James would know all about her because she was a math major and a good student, and she's been teaching math ever since she graduated, I think, because she married and had a little family. So we've kind of kept in touch a little bit. Mm-hmm.
But Barry, I think you said, embraced the changes. It
yes.
not. It didn't go kicking and dragging its feet into the next.
No. I think that we knew it had to be, and just Sister Trinita was the president, I think, who got Mrs. The Board of Trustees lady, Inez Andreas, to come, and Mrs. Andreas then brought prominent people to Barry as speakers. Hubert Humphrey, right? Then we had Bob Dole, we had Kissinger, and but as far as like changes in the church, it was about the time of the Vatican Council, and we did a lot of preparation, studying about some changes in the church, making the more open. Let me see how to say this. The Pope said we have to open the windows and let fresh air into the church. So we had speakers coming to Barry to tell us about the changes, and we would go up to there was a Catholic college temporarily where Lynn.
Oh, Lynn University is now.
Lynn started out. It was a Marymount. It was a Marymount, and the sisters, whatever those sisters were, but and they had good speakers at the time of the change. They brought the speakers from up north to come down to Florida, and so we would go up to those for those lectures. It was interesting times. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how is it that you found yourself becoming a sister?
Oh well, I think it's the word we say you have a vocation, and that word really means a call, and I do believe that it is a call. That God calls you, and you better come. I hadn't plans to enter the convent, but it was in my senior year in college. I went to college at Siena Heights, and seeing all the sisters over here at the mother house and everything, I don't know it. I felt the call, and I came from a very religious family. My parents were devout Catholics, and I had two brothers, priests, and I had another sister who was a Sister of Mercy. So I became a Dominican. Mm-hmm.
And why did you choose that congregation?
Well, it was because those were the sisters I knew
that's true.
here.
But you had a sister?
Grade school, she was a Sister of Mercy. When my mother said I should have been a Sister of Mercy, my mother didn't like the idea that I was going to a different congregation. But I liked the sisters that I had in college. So that's that's it.
And what do you think of living here at the Mother House?
Well, now, it's a change from Miami, of course, and it really, in a way, is wonderful. We realize that we are being taken care of so well, all our needs, and we just had a financial report just a little earlier this afternoon to see what the financial condition of the congregation, which right now seems to be pretty good. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful that we have this facility, and my sister is glad too. She always says, "I know you're where you belong now. You're being taken care of, and she doesn't have to worry about me."
But you miss Miami. I can tell.
Oh, I do.
Your heart is there.
I do. I still miss Miami, and I do. We lived at the villa of this motel across the street from Barry. It was so nice. I said we never had a real convent, but the villa, and for a while it was just sisters living there, so it was very, very, very nice.
You know that eventually students were also living there too, with the sisters.
In fact, that's why we bought the place. I was there when Sister Edmund was the superior when we bought the villa way back in the 50s. And it was bought to be a dormitory. It was bought for the students. We needed the space for the students, and they couldn't build one then, but so they bought the villa. So students lived there at first. But a sister lived over there. I was there one summer in charge with nursing students were there for a summer session, and I was over there to be, I don't know, it wasn't the house mother, but they wanted a sister living over there too. So, but in more recent years, when we had a lot of sisters living there, we had good times at the villa.
Well, thank you, Sister Arnold. That was.
Beg pardon?
I said thank you.
Oh,
that was lovely. That
oh.
was really. That was great.
Yeah.
Connie, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay. Sister Arnold, we've been hearing about the sister that helped the construction of Barry in 1940.
Oh,
And
Sister Gonzaga.
Sister Linda called me today, and I said, Sister Linda, what was the name of the sister? What stories can you tell us about Sister Gonzaga?
Will you tell us?
Unfortunately, you have to turn this
talk
way.
to-
Yes, tell me. What stories have you heard about?
About Sister Gonzaga. Truly, I did not know her myself, but I have just heard that I think her father was in the construction business, and she learned from him. And then she knew she could get something about cement. How much, I don't know all what it goes into the making of cement, but there was some story about she got after the man for not the right, I don't know what it was, but she would climb up on the scaffolds and see how things were going. And then in some of the mail that we have in the archives, the letters that she has written in buying the furniture for the dormitories, she was very precise when they were delivering the furniture. She said, now you be sure that you have padded wagons or something. This furniture isn't padded coming down here, as though the furniture man didn't know how to do it. But I mean, she just wanted to make sure that it was all just right. And she got good furniture.
There's a story, we don't know if this is an urban legend or not, but that something about there was a shipment of nails that was delivered there, and she goes, "You've shorted me on the nails." I mean, that she was.
I didn't know that story.
Okay, it seems a little too meticulous. I mean, but yes, it may be more.
Sister Arnold, would she be the one that we have on the bulldozer? We have a picture of a sister driving a bulldozer. Would that be Sister Gonzaga?
If it's an old-timey one, it would have to be
Okay.
on a bulldozer.
That's something she would have done, perhaps? Okay.
I mean, in later years, it could have been Sister Jean O'Loughlin, but was she in a religious habit?
Yes, she's in a habit, and it's an amazing picture. We've seen it, and we didn't know who the sister was.
And then, no doubt, that would be Gonzaga.
Okay.
She was not. She did not teach at the college. She was she was an executive.
Executive vice president is what Sister Linda said, yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know too much about her, but she was a legend.
That's what we hear. Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Sister
When
Arnold.
you squat down so she
Oh,
looks
well,
toward the
okay,
camera.
I'm gonna get
Great.
it.
Well, just get what's the question, and what do you?
It's about so Sister Arnold, as our institutions are witnessing the diminishing presence of our sisters.
I did ask this.
Okay, did you share with Connie what we could do to further this legacy within our own institutions?
Well, we hope that the spirit of the college will continue. We've always been told that there was a nice spirit there, and that with I remember the days when I was working in the registrar's office. One of the teachers called me. He lived way down in South Miami, Quail Roost or something like that. And he said, "Sister, are you going to be open for a while?" I said, "I want to come up and bring the grades that I have from the class." I said, "Oh, you don't have to do that. Just wait until you come on Monday or something." He said, "No, I'm going to come up and bring them." I said, "Well, I just fine. I will be here, but it's not necessary." He said, "I just like to come up to the campus." He said, "I just like to. It's so peaceful on the campus." So it was something like that. So, and I've heard other people say that too. That it is. However, I don't know if that's still true today, because I wouldn't go into the dormitories today. I mean, I lived in the dormitories, but I wouldn't go into the dormitories now. I mean,
Sister, you said to me that you were positive about the future because you said the Adrians had set the foundation.
Mm-hmm. Well,
you build the foundation.
And we tried to pass that on somehow or another, but you can't guarantee it. You don't know how things are going, but we've had wonderful people working with us in the college and in the university. And I think Sister Jean O'Loughlin and Sister Linda have been very careful and prudent in selecting the other administrators. You know? And the fact that we have this sponsorship arrangement with the Mother House, and so we get the spirit of the Mother House. We would like, in a way, for it to carry over. And I'm not saying this right because we have, well, I don't know. We just hope that some of the spirit from our congregation would fall on the people who we work with.
And that sponsorship conference is meeting tomorrow. They're all
There's,
coming. And what would you say to them
people
about
from the members of the Barry faculty or staff come up once a year. Different ones come up for sponsorship meetings here at the Mother House. So they imbibe a little bit of the spirit by doing that, I think. You see how things are up here. But this is the Mother House. You expect the Mother House, though, to be a little it's kind of aura to it that you wouldn't have in a secular institution. The same way, though, the college, in the early years of Barry College, some people thought that it was like a finishing school for girls, or like, and somebody even said it was like a seminary for young girls. That it was to make them religious, and that was not it at all. The idea was to train good citizens, you know, yes. Not to make them religious. But anyway,
is that still important today?
it is.